Hello, listeners. I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and today we get to sit down and talk to Sky from Atomic Broad. A little bit of warning, today's episode does have some adult language in it, but it's an amazing conversation with a very talented artist as they take us through their journey in making a band, creating an album, and being an all-around badass in a queer punk rock band. And follow the links in the show notes for continuous updates and ways to support Atomic Broad. Today, IPA goes punk, so tune in and enjoy. Welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. This is a place where we like to provide inspirations for practical applications within entertainment. And today I'm really excited because we have with us our first band, Atomic Broad. And I have the lead vocalist and the bassist, who is all one person. That is Skylar. Skylar, welcome to IPA Sessions. Please tell us what it's like to be in a badass punk band.
Thank you. Howdy. So I am the lead vocalist and bassist of a punk band called Atomic Broad. We play punk rock music that's a mix of blues, folk music, heavy metal, and hardcore punk with queer-centric lyrics and politics.
That's awesome. That's a lot of mixtures of music too. I love that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sound.
What got you started in the music world? What made this stand out to you?
Well, I started playing music when I was really young. I started playing violin at around age 10. And I did that for several years, playing for my school at the time. And I eventually got sick of it because I wanted to play the music I wanted to play, not what the school wanted me to play. So I picked up the guitar and then promptly dropped it for a while because I lost interest.
Like a real punk.
Yeah. And around age 12, I discovered the album American Idiot by Green Day. And that just blew my freaking mind. And it made me pick up guitar again. And that was kind of my gateway drug into getting back into music, getting back into just music in general. And it opened this world to me of punk rock music. You know, I would find bands like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, Metallica, and then later smaller bands like Against Me, for example. Well, they're not really a small band, but Gloss.
Yeah, they're rare though. Not many people know Against Me. I love them. They're good.
Oh, they're one of my favorite bands. I love Against Me. But and from there, I started writing my own music when I was around 15 and teaching myself how to play a bunch of different instruments. And I started making music in my bedroom. I had this little studio in my backyard, my childhood home. And it was a grungy setup. I was recording the guitars and bass through the same amp with a single microphone just put in the room. I was programming all the drums or playing it on electronic drum kits. I was producing everything in a free DAW all by myself. And that's kind of how the band started. That's how...
A one-person band.
Yeah, just me playing and singing everything in my bedroom. I was inspired by these queer bands as a queer person growing up in the Deep South. You know, growing up with blatant homophobia, blatant transphobia. It made me feel like I have a story to tell. There are people out there like me when I was younger who need to hear what I have to say. And I started making music to tell those stories.
And that's one of the best ways to express oneself too, and to help others relate to what you're going through. That's awesome. So I really like that. First of all, I love the name Atomic Broad. It's very awesome because always, for a while, I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to talk to Atomic Blonde." Wrong band. But I love the name. It really pops. So yeah, the forming of this band, it started off with just you wanting to express yourself, wanting to make music, being inspired by other musicians around you. What helped get the ball rolling, so to speak, with forming other members of this band and coming together? Because you're here to tell us about Atomic Broad and this new album that you have coming out.
Yeah, the band started, believe it or not, by me searching out on Craigslist because I was too shy to go to shows and try and meet people that way. I was just too freaking nervous. And I was just like, screw it, let's try Craigslist. And I ended up meeting BJ, our drummer, who is also our producer and was kind of the first member of Atomic Broad, because I brought him these demos I made in my bedroom, like with that grungy setup recorded, all through the same amp with electronic drums and me like just kind of singing in the general direction of the microphone.
Nice.
And he saw potential in those demos. He really liked what we had, and we started recording together. And together we made this first EP called the Conversion Therapy EP, where it was just 2 songs, and that kind of kickstarted the band. And since then, we found 2 other members. Dalton, who plays guitar for us and is absolutely amazing, and Selby, who is our backing vocalist. And right now we are finishing up our first ever record called Unrepentant.
Great name, especially for someone coming from the South. I love that.
Yeah. It deals with a lot of topics about like anti-religion, being the song Conversion Therapy. It's a very anti-religion song, I suppose, and things like homophobia, coming out to homophobic family members. There's a song about school shootings. It deals with a lot of topics that I felt are very prevalent in modern society, especially in the South where I live.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys formed together this amazing band, and now you're up and running because your friend, or not even your friend, but BJ, who you met, saw the passion that you had and saw this drive. So y'all got together and you started just. Did you do any kind of like, I guess like garage get-togethers, playing together, trying to see how y'all work and formulate, how you pick up off of each other, I guess is the word I'm looking for?
When BJ and I met, we jammed out for a little bit, and we actually ended up recording that same day.
That's awesome. Okay.
And that recording became like what would be like the demo for the first ever EP. And that we started working on that together. It just kind of made me just feel like, okay, this is our person. This is...
Yeah, there was fire right out the door. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so I want to kind of just have you take us through the process of, now that you're together as a band, you're recording this album. Most people out there, they've been through the same steps you have been through. They have formed their band. They've been playing. They're getting better. And now they're ready to lay those tracks down. Could you take us through your process of what you did to record?
I don't really have a process, if I'm being honest. It kind of just comes and goes, I guess. It all starts with the song ideas I have. I'm always thinking in words and phrases and lyrics. They kind of just pop in my head and I write them down. And I can put those to a chord structure. I usually have some kind of riff in mind, something that puts together the song, that hook. Like Metallica's Master of Puppets. That's one of the most iconic metal riffs of all time, and now very prevalent thanks to Stranger Things.
Right, as I say, yeah.
And it starts with that riff. And from there, recording in the studio. I like to start the songs by recording the bass, because I feel the bass is the foundation of everything. Without that strong foundation with the rhythm section, everything just falls flat.
Yeah.
So after you have that song idea, whether it just be something you just came up with or something you've been working on for months or even years for some people, it starts with just recording that first instrument. As our producer, BJ actually has his own studio in his house. And from there, he has this mixing board. It's like a whole 32 track. I think it's a Yamaha 32 track, just a big old mixing board, and everything goes into that. We will mic up guitars and basses with SM57s. Honestly, just whatever mic we have. It's punk rock music. Like, of course, every mic has a different sound and they're used for different applications, but it really is one of those things where like you pick a mic and if it sounds good, then go for it. If it sounds good, there's kind of no rules in that aspect. So get a microphone. That's all you really need for anything. Just get an SM57. They call it like the AK-47 of microphones, because it can do frickin' anything. It can record vocals, it can record guitar, we can record bass with it, you can record a snare drum with it, you can record cymbals. It's just use what you have. is what I'm
Right.
trying to emphasize.
No, I like that. Yeah, you heard it first here. Skylar says that's the thing you need. If you're going to be a musician, grab that seven. I'm sorry, what is it?
An SM57.
SM57. Grab the SM57.
And this is kind of like me taking knowledge from when I recorded music, because obviously I wish I had BJ here with me now, because he is more of the technical kind of person.
That's okay.
So now that you have your microphone, you need an amp. And I was joking earlier about me recording everything through one amp, but you really can do that
Oh, cool.
if that's all that you have.
I
Like
didn't even know that. That's awesome.
a Fender Bassman, for example, that's a expensive old amp, but it was meant for bass, but people record guitars through it because it sounded good. And again, kind of like anything goes, that anything goes mentality with punk rock and making music in general, to me, use whatever you have, whether that be the most amazing bass amp or guitar amp that you like saved up tons and tons of money for, and like that's your thing, or it's the guitar amp you got for $50 off of Facebook Marketplace, and that's all you have. Use it. As long as it can drive sound and it sounds good to you, then use it.
Yeah.
And the next thing you need is a DAW, a digital audio workstation. And a DAW is essentially where everything lives in regards to your music, especially if you're recording digitally. Analog's a whole nother thing, and I don't even want to get into that.
That's okay. Most people will be digital anyway, especially in today's world. The access that we have, the equipment we have access to, most of it's digital anyway.
So you have your DAW, and there are literally free DAWs out there right now that you can use. For example, Audacity. That's what I recorded in for a while. And it's not the most amazing DAW out there, and it's not going to sound like $1 million Pro Tools DAW, but it can capture that sound. And I made demos out of Audacity. I recorded an entire album when I was like 14 in an evening in
That's
Audacity.
Awesome. There's nothing wrong with Audacity if it gets the job done. And hey, trade secret here, I do a lot of my editing through Audacity. It's a great beginner's tool, especially for someone who you have an idea of what you're doing, but you're not quite sure how to go about it. Audacity is great for messing with and figuring it out.
Exactly. If it works, it works. Just going back to that, like anything goes mentality. And lastly, if you're recording music, you need an audio interface, and you can also find those for really cheap. There's ones that are just one input, one knob, and it plugs straight into your computer, and that transmits the sound that you're making from your amp and your microphone that you just got into the DAW. It gets that analog signal from the guitar and makes it digital and puts it in your workstation. To me, that's all you really need to make music. Is you need an idea, you need your instruments, obviously, and you need a microphone, an amp, an interface, and a DAW. That's all you really need. That's all I need.
Nice.
That's how my first album was made, and that's how Unrepentant's being made. Of course, there's more than just a single microphone going into an audio interface, but when you're just trying to make music and you're just trying to get those ideas out of your head, that's all you really need.
Skylar, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. I had no idea how to go about doing that. And I know that with this new album coming out, Unrepentant, like you said, we don't have BJ here to kind of take us through more of like what the studio works. But that's awesome that you have access to that. So I also recommend for those out there who, if like Skylar, you're able to, record it yourself and do it your way, fantastic. And if you are able to find someone who has a studio, take that opportunity and work with them as well and learn as much as you can, just like they were saying. You work with what you have. So you have Unrepentant coming out. How many songs are on this track, and about how long was the process to record?
There are 8 tracks total, 7 originals and 1 cover. There were originally going to be 10 or 12 I had written for that, but we ended up condensing it down to 8, just because that felt precise, very consistent. We didn't want filler, and kind of calling back to this vintage kind of vibe.
Kind of that original EP releases used to be.
Exactly, 4 to each side, A side, B side.
Mm-hmm.
And for each song, the time it takes to record it varies wildly, to me at least. Some of them we knocked out in one session, like Boys Will Be Boys, a song that was released off of our EP in 2021. We recorded in a single day. just guitars, bass, drums, and then I screamed into a microphone for an hour and we have a song. And some of them are more complex and take a lot of time. They take time to just get that right take, to get that perfect take, to get that sound, messing with microphones, messing with amps, pedals, just finding that vibe you're going for. Like, for example, our song Bulletproof Backpack, which has a few different phases to it, a few different sounds in it. It took practicing to get it right, and then take after take just to get to that perfect. You almost know when you have that perfect take where it's just like, that's it, that's going on the record.
So it takes hard work, determination, and effort. You have to really put yourself into it.
Yeah. Sometimes it really is like the sky's the limit. Sometimes it takes a day to, or not even. Sometimes it takes a few hours to record a song, and then sometimes you'll spend a week, months, sometimes longer, just tipping away at that sound you have in your head.
That's fair. Hey everyone, just taking a quick break right here to listen to a new song that's going to be on the release of the album Unrepentant by Atomic Broad. This is Conversion Therapy. And remember, the new album releases November 13th. Check them out on atomicbroad.bandcamp.com and follow the show links for more details.
You can be a man down. Your second office, I stand before man. Keep on walking, you'll be under a gram. So now listen close and do what I say. Did I ask for your truth? Don't you know my Bible's bulletproof? Indoctrinated, disenfranchise you. You can hang your flag out the end of it now. Shock you for hours on end. Keep you awake until you break and bend. Give me your hopes and dreams, your money and sight. Give me a being, give me your life. Trust in the Lord that'll do you well. Do you want to ride any side of hell? Did I ask for your truth? Don't you know my Bible's bulletproof? Indoctrinated, disenfranchise you. You can hang your flag at the end of it now.
That was Conversion Therapy from Atomic Broad. Again, their album releases November 13th at atomicbroad.bandcamp.com. Check it out and show your support. And now, back to the conversation. Okay, so The album is Unrepentant, and it's going to be coming out very soon. I want to kind of go over some things that you have faced during this process. So, whether it's from forming the band or making this album, what is one of the toughest challenges that you've had to face that you hadn't faced before when doing this process, whether it's forming the band or recording this album?
The hardest thing in regards to forming the band and recording Unrepentant was confidence, if I'm being honest. This was my first ever band. This was the second or third album of music I'd ever made. And music is one of those things where it really does take fucking up over and over again to it just takes throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks, falling on your face and getting back up again.
Those happy accidents.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, before forming Atomic Broad, I'd never formed a band before. I was in like a cover band growing up in high school, but I hadn't really formed a band before. So I had to experience, forming a band for the first time, having those hurdles of like finding people, doing tryouts for these people, and like, it not working out, trying to record things and your voice not working.
Oof.
I'd never had that happen before, trying to sing and the noise just doesn't come out. Or writing these lyrics that you thought were amazing, and then you go to the studio and suddenly you're not that confident in them anymore. Or that guitar part you thought you had down and you thought that you practiced and practiced and practiced, and it just doesn't work because you don't have the confidence behind there. That was the hardest thing. Like, I'm kind of shaking right now talking about starting the band and starting.
Bringing back all that stress that you went through. I love that you're, letting us know, especially the confidence part. That's a big key. And I think as someone who is starting this band and you're having to take on a leadership role, I'm assuming that must have been something difficult for you to overcome, because you said it yourself, confidence was something you weren't that great at. And you had to build that within yourself. Plus with you, like you stated in the beginning, representing yourself, your community, and trying to put a voice to what is kind of voiceless sometimes, at least in the South. I know in other places in the States, people are speaking up, but I know in the South it feels more restricted. So there's got to be a lot that goes into that. And I think the confidence, it grows, especially as you're continuing to obviously get this band together. You got it done. You formed the band. You made this album. So obviously you built that confidence and got that leadership role.
Yeah, now I'm this big, angry front person that jumps around on stage and screams into a mic about...
Hell yeah. As punk should be. Not giving a damn. I love it.
Yeah, now I'm that queer, angry front person that screams about whatever I feel like now. But starting that band and taking that first step is the absolute hardest thing to do. Having that confidence to take these ideas, take this voice that you have and show it to the world. That's probably the hardest thing about music. Of course, you have to learn how to play an instrument. You have to learn how to write. You have to learn what your style is in regards to writing music and figuring out how to write a song. But all that doesn't matter if you don't have the confidence to share it with the world.
That's very true. We're going to get a little tougher too, because now I'm going to ask you something similar to that. But again, with forming the band or making this album, was there anything that was unexpected? Something that you had never experienced before? I know that with some of these things, you kind of know what to expect, what you're anticipating. But was there something that came up that was very unexpected? Maybe it's a response from people who got to see who got to see all of you when you played, or maybe it was just from the reaction of your bandmates. What is something unexpected that you learned from in the moment? Something that just came to you unexpected and you conquered it in the moment and it pushed you forward. And the moment doesn't have to be right away. Maybe it took you a week to figure it out.
Probably the most unexpected challenge when we're starting my first band and recording things was kind of taking on that leadership role, I suppose. Because like I said earlier, I was just this shy punk kid who just wanted to emulate these bands that I grew up listening to and idolized. And I'm still not much of a leader. Like, I don't consider myself to be very much of a leadership kind of person. I just want to make music. That's why I started everything. That's why I started Atomic Broad. That's why I made that record when I was 14, Bedroom, and absolutely sucks. That's why I do what I do, because I just make music. But you'll discover that when you start your first band or put out your first record or put out your first song, even, is that when you start your first band, someone kind of has to be the driver of everything. Someone has to be that front person, be that front man or woman or front whatever you are.
Right.
And that was a very unexpected challenge. It should seem like a very obvious thing, but
You would think that, right?
but then you get behind a mic with a bass and you have to be that driving force. You have to be that, holy shit, who is that? You have to arrange things. You have to actually make decisions for a band. You actually have to lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's great because it sounds like the hardest challenge that you had to face was gaining your confidence. And then it seems like as soon as you started gaining that confidence, you were thrown into basically an unexpected role of having to lead. And what makes you a great leader is the fact that you do walk your own path. You don't follow. And that's very fucking punk.
Thank you.
That's how it should be. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. As you were doing this, was there anything that was kind of discouraging, like a hard reality that you had to kind of accept and, make yourself better from there to push, like you said, you're in that lead role and you're having to be that driving force. Was there a hard reality that was really tough to overcome that as a band you are all able to push through?
This is going to sound cliche as fuck, but failure. When you start a band, you're inevitably going to fall straight on your ass sometimes. You're going to release music that nobody's going to listen to. You're going to play a show that falls flat. You're going to meet people that absolutely hate what you're doing. You're going to meet people who listen to this thing that you put your heart and soul into, and they give you the finger to the face. It's
Fair.
like with my band in particular, one of the hardest struggles in regards to getting the band together was just finding people. We looked for a year before we actually found our first guitarist, our first proper guitarist, who is Dalton. Before that, we tried guitarist after guitarist after guitarist, and either it didn't work out, they didn't quite fit in with the sound of the band, or some people just didn't even show up.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably the hardest thing about being in a band, especially if you are a front person or someone who's taking on that leadership role in a band, facing that failure, facing that person who absolutely hates what you're doing, going out to play for people and nobody's there. That's probably the hardest thing in regards to a band, just having to deal with that not everything is going to go the way you want to sometimes.
Very true. And just adapting. And
Yeah.
as we said, it's again one of those qualities that make you a great leader because you just say fuck it and walk your own path and make it work. And that's what you should be doing. I love that. So now I'm going to have a little bit more fun. We'll get a little bit more lighthearted here. We've gone through a lot of the tough stuff that you've had to go through to, overcome these challenges, make this band work. You have to be this driving force, this leadership role, creating this music to be this voice to just say what you feel and to put it out there and hope that others hear it and relate and maybe even change some hearts. So what is the most valuable takeaway that you've learned from this entire experience?
That people are a lot better than you think.
That's awesome.
When I started this band, I was really discouraged for a while because I'm playing queer punk music in the Deep South. Like, of course, there are other queer punk bands down here, like, for example, the Dog Park Dissidents, who are an amazing queer punk band.
Shout out to them.
But that was, when you're playing the music that I play in the Deep South, you expect the worst, and you will get the worst. I had homophobes emailing me talking about how I'm the real bigot because I made a song calling out conservatives, or how I had anti-vaxxers responding to my Craigslist ads because I didn't want anti-vaxxers in my band, or
I don't blame you. No one wants to get sick.
or people just calling you a fucking F word because you're playing music that you really enjoy. But beyond all of that fucking bullshit, beyond the bigots and beyond the people that are just fucking assholes, you find that there's a lot of good out there. When I started this band and I started making music and really putting us out there, you meet a lot of really amazing people. We were on the radio for the first time last year in December.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I met the person who hosted the radio station, and I was actually on the radio, and we talked, and they're one of the most kind, just generous people I've ever met. Like, when someone buys your music for the first time, you're like, holy crap, someone bought what I made.
They cared. Yeah.
Yeah. When people like comment on your Facebook posts where they're like, or you get a message, people saying that like they really like what you make, or people message you or tell you that they found your music inspiring, that it helped them. It's really easy, especially in the age of social media and right now, when like shit is just fucked right now.
Yeah.
When things feel really discouraging, it's really easy to get discouraged and see the world as nothing but bad. But you'll find that you'll meet a lot of amazing people and get into a lot of really amazing situations that you wouldn't have really expected otherwise.
That's awesome. And that's really heartwarming. That's good to hear. It's not very punk of you to give me a heartwarming moment. So having heard all that, what is it that keeps you going? What drives you? Because, I mean, you dealing with so much, and you've told us the good, the bad. What is it that keeps you going? What's your drive?
I truly feel like this is what I am kind of meant to do. Not in the kind of way where like, oh, I was put on this earth to make music and make people's lives better. Like, not in that like pretentious fucking way. I mean, like, this is the only thing I can do, is make queer punk music. And it also kind of reminds me of making this music now of when I was younger and I was in the closet and hearing bands like Gloss, Girls Living Outside of Society shit, or Against Me, or The Warriors, for example. Bands like that, openly queer bands. And when you're surrounded by all this bigotry and bullshit, it gives you a weapon. It gives you courage. It gives you a reason. It gives you a reason to almost feel like I can exist here. I have a purpose here. I have a space. That's what drives me to make this music. That's what drives me to write about coming out to homophobic parents. That's what drives me to write about coming out to that friend who rejected me when I was younger. That's what drives me to write about conversion therapy. That's what drives me. Remembering that scared in the closet kid who needed to hear someone saying like, you're not alone. You're okay. You're allowed to exist. It sounds pretentious saying that like I make music to help people like me, I guess. Well, that's not really pretentious. But
no, it's not pretentious. Honestly, to me, it's actually kind of, it makes me sad that you have to be the voice and you have to be the music out there for them because it's not heard enough. The fact that you have to even do that, it says a lot about us in general. And I love that you're being a part of the voice. It's not just you. I know it's your band. It's Dalton. It's BJ. It's all of you guys. It's your music. And I think that's incredible. So it's not pretentious at all. I think it's good and I think it's needed.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Well, I really appreciate you talking to us today. Thank you so much for just kind of taking us through the whole spill of everything. It's not easy to form a band. It's not easy to record albums. I hope that when you guys get ready for your second album, you'll come back. We'll bring BJ on, maybe get some more technical breakdown. But I really loved what you shared with us about how you went about basically making your demo. And that demo is what put you out there. It's what got the ball rolling to bring BJ on, to bring your other musicians in and really form this band and take this serious. And I think that's incredible. So right now, I just want to give the floor to you. I know that you've been talking this whole time. That's the whole point. But this is about you. Tell us all about Atomic Broad. Where can we find you? Where can we hear you? If we want to buy some albums from you, whether it's MP3 or actual CDs, where can we go? How can we hear Atomic Broad?
So my band, Atomic Broad, is on our website, atomicbroad.bandcamp.com. There we have all of our music, and shortly after, we're actually going to be selling some merch there too, like CDs, shirts, patches, just kind of whatever we can think of, honestly.
I love trucker hats, by the way, so hook me up, okay? I'm all about trucker hats.
I'll keep that in mind. But you can find us on our Bandcamp. We have an Instagram page at Atomic Broad Makes Music, our Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/atomicbroad. And we're also on Twitter at atomic_broad. And that's where you can keep up with our music. You can keep up with just anything about the band. We post a lot of political stuff there. So if you're wanting to keep up with queer politics or just politics in general,
never hurts to educate yourself.
Yeah, if you just want something to be angry at, honestly, then follow us.
Well, thank you so much, Skylar. I'm looking forward to seeing Unrepentant coming out by Atomic Broad very, very soon. I'm super pumped about this. I also love, no one can see us because we're recording this on audio, obviously, but I love that you're rocking the pink sweatband. Pink is my favorite color. As a straight white male from the South, it's very fucking punk rock. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. It matches my shirt, so I felt like it was...
That's right. Say the goddamn pronouns, motherfucker. I love it. It's something that is my personal motto that I am trying to learn myself. As listeners of the show know, I have many friends. We're all growing together. We're all learning. And it doesn't hurt to just be courteous and just ask people what makes them comfortable. If you make a mistake, if you say something, they correct you, just say okay and give them the pronoun they want. That's all.
Agreed.
We'll get a little political just for you, all right?
It sucks that that's political, but yeah.
I know. That should just be common fucking courtesy. This has been awesome. Thank you so much, Skylar. I really appreciate it. Good luck to your band. And also, is there any touring of any kind happening right now? Do you have any set dates by chance?
Not yet. We're going to be starting to play shows in the local New Orleans area and just Louisiana in general towards the end of the year here in 2022. Okay. But we do not have any confirmed dates yet. But if you follow our social media pages, we're going to be posting about that as soon as we have confirmed dates.
Awesome. Please get your asses out here to California. I know my girlfriend and I would absolutely love to come and see you.
All right. I'll make a note of that.
That's right. Just hit up the West Coast. They'll love you out here. Thank you so much. And to all the listeners out there, I hope you got a kick out of this. I hope you really enjoyed listening to Skylar's story, to their experience, what they went through, how they formed everything, and just, again, having that passion, that determination, and that drive to just do what they know that they are gifted at doing. And like they said, they're here to make music. So appreciate you guys tuning in. And until the next time, stay golden. Thanks for tuning in to IPA Sessions. To help support this podcast, please rate and review, and click that subscribe button to follow for new bi-weekly episodes. And if you're an independent artist out there looking to promote your work or yourself, please reach out to me via social media at IPA Sessions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also reach out to me via email at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope you felt inspired.